This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on the South Today, New Zealanders heading to the Milford Track over summer can look forward to comfortable huts thanks to some busy builders. A career cabinet maker has made one last box and decorated it so he can go out in style. And fans of 1970s Japanese cars can get their fill of some fantastic examples at a new exhibition in Invercargill. Kia ora, good evening, I'm Melissa Barton. Builders have been busy constructing a new hut on the Milford Track. The new Monatro hut will replace an older one 2 kilometres away, which was found to be at risk of rockfalls.
Monatro Hut at Day 2 on the Milford Track is being rebuilt 2 kilometres up from the old hut, which was discovered to be in a potential rockfall zone.
We spent a few years just coming in here once a year, making sure that there wasn't water moving through it, that the slips up behind here weren't moving, there was no creek, and really looking at the site as to what we needed to do as far as having the hut in the right place, facing the right way. So we implemented a sun study so that we could get the most out of the solar heating in the daylight hours to heat it so that we don't have to use as much fuel to heat the hut.
The new hut is set to cost almost $3.5 million.
I've done quite a few huts, so this one's a bit different. It's got the big portals in the main room, so you've got a big clear span. A lot of canalised timber everywhere. Very well insulated, this one. And there's been a real focus on the airflow in the rooms to keep the rooms dry.
Hikers on the Milford Track this summer will have to make do with staying at the old hut, as the new one is now set to be completed around March next year.
We started before COVID and then we got locked out. Then it was winter time, so actual time on site's not a great time. We're probably about 2 months actual on site work, but spread over the last 8 months.
Repairs and upgrades of all of Fiordland's storm-damaged tracks are set to be completed in about 3 years' time. In Fiordland, the South Today.
A car on fire at a Dunedin service station this afternoon prompted a call out from Fire and Emergency New Zealand. An appliance from Dunedin Central attended the scene on Cumberland Street, but found that the fire had just been extinguished. A Fire and Emergency New Zealand spokeswoman says the fire service was called to the scene at the BP service station just after 2:30 p.m. Firefighters from Dunedin Central ensured the fire was completely out. Fire and Emergency New Zealand says the cause is as yet unknown. Over many years, Warren Ockwell's floats have graced Dunedin's Santa Parade as he's volunteered his cabinet-making skills for Rainbow Preschool and more. The Dunedin man, known to many children simply as Popper, has designed and made the vehicle for his final farewell.
There's DIY, and then there's really doing it yourself. A retired Dunedin cabinet maker, Warren Ockwell, is undertaking a joinery project, which will take him to the great workshop in the sky.
I just wanted something different, and all the things on the coffin itself I've made, and this is connected to Rainbow Preschool and Santa Parade, and I've had a Speedy Signs, I hope I can mention that name. They did all the work on it, and they've done a lot of work on all the floats. Of 14 of them in the Santa Parade.
Ockwell began making the coffin he's set to be buried in while his wife was unwell. He says there were only so many hours he could be at her bedside, so in the other times he learned how to make a coffin.
And I wanted something to do in the garage, and I couldn't leave the home for too long a period of time, so we had a discussion about this, and that's one thing I've never made in my life. I'm a joiner by trade, and wasn't one thing I did a bit of study online, and this is it.
He's had a 20-plus year association with Rainbow Preschool, having made their floats for Dunedin's Santa Parades. At 84 years old, Ockwell says every day is a blessing, and he's enjoyed volunteering his time with children during his retirement, saying it keeps him young.
At my age now, every day is a bonus, I feel, and I feel my friend up above is not finished with me yet. So, and I'm enjoying life with the children and young people. As you realise, as you get older, you haven't got so many friends around you. So now I really enjoy life, and you young people keep me young.
And as for the time when he's in the coffin, he knows family will be sad, but wants people to be happy and sharing memories.
Yes, it's just want something different, and I want it to be a joyful occasion, not a sad occasion. I want it to be a joyful occasion, and with all children's songs and everything like that.
Reflecting on his retirement spent volunteering at Rainbow Preschool, he says he's loved hearing parents say they're pleased that their children have a grandfather figure in their lives. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Almost 10 years after it was badly damaged by an earthquake, a vision of what the restored Christchurch Cathedral could look like has been realised. This computer animation shows how the repaired Anglican Cathedral and its supporting buildings might look. However, this vision comes at a price. The original cost was estimated to be around $100 million, and this money has already been raised. But the cost is now predicted to be over $150 million, with the extra $50 million still needing to be raised. The Christchurch Cathedral Reinstatement Trust is describing the target as ambitious yet achievable. As anticipated, the entire project will be completed in 8 years' time. Lovers of Japanese cars from the 70s, 80s and 90s are in for a treat. An exhibition of more than 40 cars is opening to the public in Invercargill this weekend.
Japanese cars from the 70s, 80s and 90s are now on display at Bill Richardson Transport World in Invercargill. The collection of Datsuns, Nissans, Mazdas and other brands is bound to inspire feelings of nostalgia for car enthusiasts of a certain age.
Going back to when I was a young fellow, Japanese cars were never even thought of being a classic car. But I think as sort of people my age and younger who grew up with them sort of want to relive those years, I suppose, and Japanese cars have become very popular, very collectible and sought after, which, as I say, was 20 years ago you never thought it would happen.
The exhibition includes the actual four-wheel drive Mazda 323 with which New Zealand driver Rod Millen won the Asia Pacific Rally Champs in 1989. Nearly all the 41 vehicles are owned by private collectors who probably value their Japanese tin can on wheels more than when they first came out.
They're almost considered a throwaway commodity, and everyone collected American cars, Australian cars and that sort of thing.
The Evolution of Japanese Cars exhibition is set to run until April next year. In Invercargill, the South Today.
Still to come on the South Today, methods of piling are tested at the new Dunedin Hospital site. We catch up with the University of Otago Marine Sciences as they take their aquavan on tour around Dunedin schools. So see you after the break.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Hi, Al Campbell Menswear. We're back in George Street on the corner of Hanover Street. Come and check out our big store. It's a big space full of bargains. Now look at these shirts. There's shirts for everybody here. Look at these merino pullovers, stacks of moleskins, literally tons of trousers. Check out these big racks of sports jackets. Beautiful.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
So come and check out Alex Campbell Menswear. We're back on George Street in the old ANZ building.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
You've seen us in the street, now find us online. Check out shopon.org.nz. We have all sorts of treasures, from retro and vintage clothing to antiques, homewares and accessories. New items added every week. We're open 24/7.
Welcome back. Two methods of piling have been tested at the new Dunedin Hospital site, with noise and vibration being measured. Piles are posts which are plunged into the ground to support the foundations of a building. Sensors were placed in the surrounding areas of the old Cadbury factory to detect the effects each option has. March Construction Business Development Manager Alistair Briffett says each method has pros and cons.
Essentially, both of these methods offer the approach with a lot of benefits. The ground, there's an underlying risk of contamination with the grounds, so we're looking to try and minimise the amount of contaminated spoil that we remove during the process of piling. So both methods limit that extraction process.
Hospital Program Director Mike Barnes says driven piling is a faster method but has more impact and vibration, while displacement piling is slower with less effect on the surrounding area. Displacement piling isn't a common method in New Zealand, and the piling rig was brought in from Australia. Testing is expected to continue in the southern end of the former Cadbury factory and the old Wilson car park site. Educators from Marine Sciences at the University of Otago are visiting schools around Dunedin with their aquavan. Pupils from Tahuna Intermediate had their turn in Tainui Schools Hall, with many youngsters testing their bravery with creatures in the touch tank.
Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Aquavan. Marine science educators from the University of Otago at Tainui School, giving pupils from neighbouring Tahuna Intermediate a hands-on feel for some aquatic creatures.
Well, it was slippery, that slimy, that sea sausage or whatever it was, sea cucumber. It felt like it bit me.
Year 8 pupil Roma Morrison says she's no stranger to general coastal sea life, like crabs and some shellfish, but she enjoyed being amongst those taking turns holding sea stars, kina and the very slimy sea cucumber.
Well, sometimes there's crabs a lot that I touched and picked up, but not really starfish and that sea cucumber.
Year 8 teacher at Tahuna, Rob Wells, says excursions like this are a great way children can learn outside of the standard classroom situation.
It's a good hands-on learning experience for the kids, so they get to go around to all the touch tanks, have a look at all the species that are native around the Otago Peninsula for the kids. And they might experience some animals that they might necessarily sort of observe when they're down at the beach or if they don't get to the beaches.
When teachers take pupils out of school, and particularly to generally risky environments like beaches and foreshores, it can generate a host of paperwork, risk management assessment or RAMS forms and the like. Wells says walking to the school next door is a great way to see sea creatures in a risk-free environment.
Exactly, yeah, it's really easy for us. It's just a short walk down, and the kids, as I said, there's no paperwork to fill out in terms of RAM forms for the kids, and it's safe to. It's always good to get out to the beach, sit in the natural environment, but sometimes these animals are really hard to find as well, so if they can be easy to find for the kids, and they can look at them. Some of them they can be hands-on and touch in a safe environment, so it's really cool.
Aquavan is operated by the Marine Studies Department at the University of Otago as an outreach vehicle for community education. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Tonight we present the last chapter in a 10-part series on Dunedin's risk of an earthquake, similar in magnitude to the ones which damaged Christchurch 10 years ago. This time we look at the efforts being made to earthquake strengthen the city's older buildings.
Dunedin residents should consider their city's older buildings under threat of damage from earthquakes triggered by movements of nearby fault lines, such as the Akatori Fault, which moved twice in recent times, once about 1,000 years ago and again about 700 years ago. Heritage advisor Andrea Farminer says the council is helping with the retrofitting of privately owned historic buildings, having already paid out $1.3 million over the past 10 years to selected property owners for engineers' assessments of their buildings.
Council doesn't have a bottomless purse of ratepayers' money, so we can't obviously get around everybody, but we try and look at those who need the most help, who have the most vulnerable buildings, and also quite key buildings in the CBD, but also in the wider suburbs as well.
South Dunedin also has a number of less prominent but equally elderly buildings that local MP Claire Curran says are worthy of preserving.
I do hope the city sort of turns its attention to South Dunedin as being actually a place of value in the city. You know, it has got heritage value, but it's been neglected, and so some of those buildings aren't that safe. But it would be a real shame for them to disappear.
And there are many in the community, such as Otako Kaumatua Edward Ellison, who look forward to Dunedin preserving its historic charm and continuing the strengthening of old buildings, just in case a large earthquake hits the city.
Yeah, no, I like Dunedin like it is. I would be ashamed, I couldn't live in a modern city with the modern buildings. I just too boring. I think Dunedin's distinctive. We're lucky to have, because of our slow growth rate, we've managed to retain a lot of those old buildings. That railway station, there's numerous buildings, they're just fabulous.
Dunedin's actually older than Christchurch. It has more heritage buildings than Christchurch, and it is becoming well known as the heritage centre for New Zealand. And in terms of tourism and we're just generally living here and appreciating what we've got, it would be a terrible, terrible thing to have buildings like that coming down round our ears, so to speak.
In Dunedin, the South Today.
After the break on the South Today, we take a look at Airport Safety Week, an annual initiative involving airports across New Zealand and Australia. And then we check out the weather going into Labour weekend, so stay with us.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Hi, Al Campbell Menswear. We're back in George Street on the corner of Hanover Street. Come and check out our big store. It's a big space full of bargains. Now look at these shirts. There's shirts for everybody here. Look at these merino pullovers, stacks of moleskins, literally tons of trousers. Check out these big racks of sports jackets. Beautiful.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
So come and check out Alex Campbell Menswear. We're back on George Street in the old ANZ building.
Step into Shop on Carroll and discover a shop full of treasures. We have a fantastic range of vintage and retro clothes, upmarket clothing labels, collectible items, beautiful jewellery, quality linen and the best range of vintage haberdashery.
Thanks for staying with us. Airport Safety Week is an annual initiative which involves airports across New Zealand and Australia. During the week, Antipodean airports run drills and exercises to ensure their staff and procedures are ready for anything.
Senior firefighter Matt Jones demonstrates the use of fire extinguishers during Airport Safety Week at Dunedin Airport. Dunedin Airport Safety and Compliance Manager Quentin Blair says it's part of an international effort.
It's working collaboratively Australia and New Zealand airports to make sure that every airport's pretty much as safe as we possibly can.
The session also involved a FOD, or Foreign Object Damage Walk, of the tarmac and surrounding areas, where people look for items which could damage aircraft. And while it's part of a coordinated international plan, Blair says Southern Regional airports are working closely together.
This year we've been working quite closely with Invercargill and Queenstown Airport to make sure that the three ports, we're pretty much doing everything we possibly can for our staff and for the safety, because obviously this year's been a little bit different.
He says each day of Airport Safety Week has a different focus, including foreign object detection, firefighting and maintaining COVID-19 safety regimes at airports. In Dunedin, the South Today.
And now recapping tonight's top stories on the South Today. New Zealanders heading to the Milford Track over summer can look forward to comfortable huts thanks to some busy builders. A career cabinet maker has made one last box and decorated it so he can go out in style. And fans of 1970s Japanese cars can get their fill of some fantastic examples at a new exhibition in Invercargill. And now look at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT. Welcome Craig Page, what have you got for us?
Good evening, a bumper Saturday edition, that's what we've got for you, plenty of reading in it. We've got an interesting story, a bit of a follow-up onto this morning's story about the whitebaiter who was swept out to sea the Waitaki River mouth the previous day while whitebaiting. We've been back out there today talking to some whitebaiters in the area. I guess about the dangers of the area and sort of the questions, are people putting themselves at risk for the sake of a whitebait patty? And the consensus is it's a really tough place to fish there. They're getting out in the middle of the river and that's posing dangers as well. Some of the more experienced guys say they've been there for 34 years and it certainly is a bit more dangerous now than it has been in the past. So
something for them to watch out.
Yeah, it is. It's dangerous. I mean, it's the second one in a short time, so yeah, some concerns there. Regions, we take a trip to Te Anau and find out that the locals are feeling a bit disgruntled and a bit left out, really. The distribution of government financial assistance in the wake of COVID, they don't feel they're getting their share of it. All the talk down the south's been about Queenstown and tourism, all those sorts of things, but Te Anau also relies heavily on tourism. After COVID, 40% of the population lost their jobs in that town, which is a huge number.
I was going to say that'd actually be more likely to hit than Queenstown.
Yeah, definitely. And they rely so heavily on the walking tracks, of course, and they've been closed. And they say that's cost them $2 million alone. So really good read there and well worth a nose. Weekend Mix, we investigate the threat of disinformation. There's plenty of it floating around, as you well know, particularly in the lead up to the election, and social media does its bit to help fuel the rumours and innuendo that's out there. We have a chat to the Chief Censor, David Shanks, about how best to tackle it, and do we risk turning New Zealand to a police state as well. So that's another good read.
Yeah.
And big sports section as well, focus being on the rugby tonight. Of course, Otago playing Northland at Forsyth Bar. We'll have updates on our website throughout the night and a full wrap in tomorrow's paper.
Wonderful, and you can catch all of that in tomorrow's ODT, and now it's time for a look at the weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Starting with today's southern view, taken off construction time again in Dunedin's Wharf area. Looking at the situation, fine and warm tomorrow, but on Sunday a cold front moves across the region, bringing rain with cold southerly winds, easing slowly on Monday. Starting off at the northwest of the South Island, expect partial cloud and 18 degrees in Greymouth and Westport. To the northeast, mostly sunny with 23 degrees in Blenheim and 21 in Nelson. In Canterbury, mostly cloudy in Kaikoura with 18 degrees, while it's partly cloudy elsewhere with 20 degrees in Christchurch and a balmy 23 degrees in Ashburton. To the southern towns, fresh northwesterlies with increasing cloud and a high of 20 degrees for the Catlins and Balclutha. Lumsden and Gore are the same, with Lumsden reaching a high of 19 and Gore 18. To central Otago, Wanaka is looking at fine weather with moderate northerlies and 24 degrees. Alexandra reaches 23 degrees and can expect fresh northwesterlies and increasing cloud. The same for Queenstown with a slightly lower 22. And Te Anau can look forward to fresh northwesterlies, rain and a high of 16. To the northern towns, it's fine weather with moderate northerlies for everyone here. Along the coast, Timaru reaches 25 degrees and Oamaru 23. Inland, Twaiswa and Marama both reach a balmy 25 degrees. In Dunedin, cloudy tonight with an overnight low of 11 degrees. Warm tomorrow with long sunny periods and wisp of high cloud and moderate northerlies. A high of 22 and a low of 12. It's still warm on Sunday with increasing high cloud and northerlies dying out, followed by rain and colder southerlies developing later during the evening. A high of 19 and a low of 7. Monday is a good day for inside pursuits as rain eases during the day with very cold southerlies. And in Invercargill, cloudy tonight with an overnight low of 10. Warmer northerlies freshening tomorrow with high cloud increasing during the day, a high of 19 and a low of 12. And it's cloudy on Sunday with periods of rain and fresh warm northerlies at first, with colder southerlies and rain developing during the afternoon, a high of 17 and a low of 5. Rain easing to showers then clearing on Monday with cold southeasterlies becoming lighter. And that's all from the South Today team for this Friday and indeed the week. For the latest news from across the southern region, go to odt.co.nz and follow Channel 39 on YouTube and Facebook. Have a great evening and enjoy your Labour weekend. We will be back next Tuesday. Ka kite anō.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.